it's just such an iconic image, somebody who routinely goes out there and is
So what were you saying about buying like a cigarette prop?
Yeah. I think because you have this nice balcony here, and there's enough apartments that are in view of it, that if you just took regular smoke breaks, and I know you don't smoke, but it could be like a little character that you create, and because I know that when I have had balconies that are in view of somewhere where I'm living, and there's someone who smokes regularly, I can almost keep tabs on them, because they routinely go out and you observe them, and it's
crazy that you're saying that, because literally the neighbor down here, every single day between the hours of 3 to 5 smokes a cigar.
A cigar
every
day a cigar.
It's like his meditation, though. I love that, because he takes his own space. His name is John, like the most American name, right? And he's like, and he talks like this. Yeah, he's a character of his own.
How old is he?
Oh, he's like, I don't know, in his 40s or something.
Okay.
But he's such a character. He just smokes, and you always see him meditating in his thing. And like I say hi to him. Sometimes he says hi. Doesn't care if you don't say hi or not, But he's onto something. I like that you can have different kinds of connecting moments. So and that can be a cigar.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
But I'll do that thing with the fake cigar. I think I like that.
Yeah, it's just a very performative type of thing that you can do. Make use of your balcony.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
Anyhow, my friend, I want to do this. I love doing this with every guest.
Yeah, well, tell me what it says on there.
It says Artist Talks. You want to smack it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I want to welcome you, my dear friend, Gavin. Mr. Gavin Mulcahy.
You got it.
Gavin and I, we recorded a conversation that got deleted by
on the phone. It existed, right?
It existed, right? But the audio was finicky or something like that. Anyhow, this is the conversation happening at its right time.
This is gonna be a better one.
Yes. Oh. Just for the sake of it, let me just do this again.
Okay.
Just for the sake of it.
So we're back on?
We're back on.
Oh my gosh. While we were away, Alan and I, at the beginning, we weren't connected. We didn't. No. We were talking to each other. We were aware of each other's presence, but we were not sharing the same artistic headspace.
So now we are. I do want to introduce my guest. My guest is Gavin Mulcahy. Gavin and I, we met in college, as most great people do.
What's your first memory of us talking?
You know what? It's the first one that's coming to mind right now. But it's, I think, one of the moments where I really felt like I could trust you more. Or like connect with you on a deeper level beyond school. We went abroad. So we were abroad. Yeah. We were in, I think at this moment we were in Croatia. And we were staying at the Hotel Dubrovnik.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation in a couch. It was one of those couches. I don't know. It was in the middle of the night. I was having some love situation going on. I think so. Yeah. And
yes.
And you just sat with me and you listened. And that's all. I think you listened attentively, which was another thing where it's like you're not only listening and going like, but you're also providing food for thought and like questions to ponder on.
Yes. What about you? With you, Alan? Okay. Well, my first memory of like knowing Alan's a keeper was we were in Measure for Measure, yes. And you came over after a rehearsal, and we sat on my balcony with my roommates, and
yes.
I think we drank wine and you did not, and maybe we smoked weed and you did not, but you were on our level completely, and just completely open about your whole life and willing to immediately impart the lessons that you feel like you've gotten on this earth, and just so interested in what other people had to offer. And I was just like, that is an energy that I'm going to keep around me. Yeah. But you're right, it was not until we were really out there.
I would say but also, sorry, and this was the first memory that came, but I also have another one. Something I remember from you up the get-go, which as an international student, having this in, I guess, someone here in America, it's so impressive, I think, which is you rarely meet people that are interested in culture and learning and curious and open to sipping into other worlds more. And I think you've always had that, and you've kept that through our friendship. Like, you're always asking me, hey, did you hear about this thing in Venezuela? Like, to a point where you started hearing things that I haven't even heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was when we met. That was kind of like the climax of the crisis in the country.
And that, okay, I don't know if I want to jump right into that, but I guess I brought it up. You and I had an ethereal experience together.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
We're gonna go here. Okay.
We're here.
Yes. No, it's true. Should we name the person that
of course,
that first inspired?
Gaffney. Right. Hello, right, Gaffney.
Rainier Gaffney. Yes. He came home, and we were
in Europe. We're in
in the Eifel region, which is a remote area in the Rhineland
of Germany,
northwestern Germany, and we were in a town called Acht, and there's like somewhere between 70 and 80 people in this town, and the one thing was like there was a cigarette vending machine, and that didn't work. Yeah. And I just remember Blake sadly trying to make the cigarette machine work.
Really?
Yeah. That was like the only thing the town had to offer.
Yeah. Desolate area. He comes in, he runs in, and he's like, this is after he went on a run, and he had this sort of dark energy that he felt while running. Me and Gavin were attentively listening, and we were like, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that he was on his run, and then he turned around and he was being chased by a presence, and he was running for his life.
And I'm not running, and I'm not laughing because I don't believe it. It is funny, though, how he told the story.
Yes, because he's such it's
little character,
and you don't ever see weakness from Ryan.
No,
and this wasn't a weak moment from him. It was an honest moment.
Yeah.
But it was. We really cross-examined him because we thought he was fucking with us. We
really
thought that this is a prank, this is a joke. But we said, okay, well,
as a result,
we want to check it out.
You want to check it out, and we said, okay. The next day, I think it was our last day in town. We're like, okay, let's wake up at fucking 4 a.m. and let's go. And supposedly Blake was gonna come to us. We wake up at 4:30 a.m. I'm like, hey, bro, let's go. And you're like, oh, okay, all right. And I remember waking Blake up or something like that. He was like, no.
I remember your alarm music. It was something sexy and Latin. And
whatever, yeah. And then so we go down. And we take some torches. We had some like half burned torches from a previous.
It could have been like 1000 BC the way we did that. Like we were carrying these flamethrower type of torches through an ancient undisturbed wilderness, in search of something.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful walk at the beginning. I remember we're walking on like the highway, right?
Yeah. And we didn't tell anybody. If we died, it would have made international headlines.
Absolutely. And we're walking, and like now and then there would be a car just passing by.
I'm so glad nobody stopped.
Yeah, and they're like towards the middle of the hike. We're like, okay, let's put these torches down. Let's go full dark mode. Like, and now we're approaching the area where he sort of saw this apparition or so. we go, we walk, and after a point we like get tired, right? We're like, okay, let's just turn back. We turn back, and we keep walking.
Yeah, we keep walking, and it's hard to describe because my memories of it are, I have distinct things that I remember seeing, remember feeling, but the only thing, if I had been by myself, I would not have believed that's a trick of the. But whenever there was something, a sound, a movement, an inexplicable light, you and I grabbed for each other at the same. It was a simultaneous reaction to different things.
Yeah.
So you knew it wasn't your imagination.
Right. And it was really there was just something very. I don't know. It really felt like an adventure in and of itself. We're approaching the end though of the and I know that we're getting back to the town, and you're having like this sort of look at me, and he's like, I remember you saying something like, okay, this was not successful. Like, this was bullshit. Yeah. And I go to you and I'm like, wait a minute, let's not call it something like let's not call it yet. And literally I said that, we turned around, and we see this light, right?
Yeah.
Please describe what we watched or saw.
It was like a bulb, and it's thick forest, and I remember it being on. We're walking, we're returning.
Yeah.
So it was to our left and ahead of us, but up a hill a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was like, as soon as we fixated on it, it was gone.
Yeah. And it was fast and going towards a direction that like the highway couldn't go there.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. It was.
And we grabbed for each other, and we both were nervous. We started walking faster, but we were also looking for more things.
But it was so synchronous of that. Fucking amazing. One of the best stories, I think, best experiences of that whole trip for me. Like I won't forget that trip. The
satisfaction that we had done it, that we felt like we had really seen something. We didn't feel threatened the same way our friend did, but then we just joined and everyone was still like waking up. It was like we were the first ones to breakfast, and like nobody knew. Neno to this day never knew that we abandoned them in the middle of the wilderness in Germany.
Oh, that was fucking fantastic. It was epic. It was epic. Well, brother, I do want to ask you something that we were talking about previously.
Yeah.
And how beautiful. I do want to know that we're having this conversation February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Happy Valentine's
Day.
I'm here with my Valentine.
Yes. We were Valentines abroad. We were like, hey, bro, you want to be my Valentine?
We absolutely were.
And we had a cake with a little heart.
We shared it.
We were in Germany, I remember. But no, it's meaningful because, I don't know, you're currently living in New York. And we just happened to be here the same week in LA.
Yep.
And we were talking about love. And I did want to ask you what your thoughts were regarding this idea of why we find it so hard to move, to sort of transcend a relationship that we were really enjoying, or like move past a relationship that gave us a lot. And I mean, this relationship could have ended up well. Like, it didn't have to end up in bad terms, because it's almost easier if it ends up in bad terms, but it's almost like, what makes it so hard, you know?
Yeah. So when you placed that to me, the way you posed it was, why is it so hard to when relationships come to an end? And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, so what necessitates the ending of a relationship? And there's a lot of different types of relationships, but an intimate relationship. Are we speaking exclusively about romantic love? Are we
that's interesting.
Familial love? Because it could be a breakup, there could be death, there could be,
That's an interesting point. I think all. Okay. I think all, but also I know specifically right now we're talking romantically, I assume. But it also plays a little bit into I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you think something needs to end? How do you know?
I feel like when ideals change, when like wavelengths, because it's interesting, right? With family, even if your wavelengths are not at the same. For instance, I have a cousin right now who maybe is working a lot and is doing his own thing, and we're not basically aligned on our lives. We're both having our own separate lives, but we still love each other. Mm-hmm. We still, I think of him and I'm like, I love that. He's my cousin. He's like my, my young cousin. I love him. But when it's like a relationship or like a romantic, something that is not family. For instance, I'm thinking of a breakup that I had with a previous girl I went out with, where currently today we don't talk, but we, like, I think of her and I'm like, she's having her life and I'm happy for her, but I'm not saddened about the idea of us not meeting again.
Yeah.
Or not I would be saddened if I wouldn't see my cousin again.
Right. Yes. Okay. So that is a good differentiation between romantic love and familial love. And so as you were saying that, I was thinking about how if there was an alien who came and was basically able to understand most of how humanity has kind of got this Earth thing going, and they're like, wow, as a big dominant species on that planet. But if they didn't understand love, that would be there would be this just impossibility of trying to understand humans, because with their relationships, you make a choice to partner up.
Yeah.
And
it's a willing choice.
It's a willing choice, and it's people are depressed because they don't have it. And it's a primal need to feel like you're connected to somebody. But if that alien, that visitor, is like, that's just such an inconvenience. All of your personal aspirations and everything, sometimes sacrifices need to be made. So sometimes you need to forfeit what you're doing to support the other person. Right. And then there's the idea that they would support you as well. Maybe you make a move, and then the relationship needs to end, and there's this painful ripping apart of after you've been glued together or woven together. There's this ripping, and it's like, why do we subject ourselves to it? And it's only, you have to understand the concept of love to even understand why we do it to ourselves.
It's almost like learning a lesson. Like, I'm telling you about a lesson, but you wanting to experience the lesson. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that's what we want. What we seek is the curiosity of what that relationship would feel like. Yeah. Even if we know, even if we know better. Like, even if it's like, you're not. Hey, don't go there. But I want to just know at least. At least I'll know how it feels.
Yes, you'll know, you'll have that experience, and you almost sign up to have your heart broken. What is it? Mein Herz ist gebrochen. Mein Herz ist gebrochen. You willingly, with open arms, take that on, and you're like, one day this is gonna fucking crush me.
And I think, sorry, what were you gonna say? It's so interesting that it's also, I think maybe this might be controversial, but it might be a necessary step towards our path of self-love, to have our heart being broken.
Yeah.
In order to at least understand more of our value.
Yeah.
The meaning that we bring into our life and the meaning that we need to give ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've heard of a few different metaphors for that. There's a pottery, a form of pottery where like a plate, sometimes they will even intentionally break the plate so that they can then mold it back together. And I wish I knew what I was talking about, but like it then has like streaks of gold where you can see exactly what the brokenness was. Really? But then it's like more beautiful in that way.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Thank you for bringing that up. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to look into that. Yeah. Fucking A.
or a baby's brain is, I think, a skull, excuse me, is multiple bones, and then it grows into one, but it needs to be multiple pieces before.
Really?
Yeah. Babies, you're born with many more bones than you.
Wait, what?
Yeah. We should look it up. How many bones are you born with? And then I think it happens in your hands too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you're
well,
like
people,
a lot more
people,
flexible.
if they're watching this on YouTube, they can comment or.
Yes,
Please
doctors, please.
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting. Well, which brings me to another point of this idea that some people, and I read this in a book. I bring this book a lot, Untamed. We talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Like Glennon Doyle, where she says, "I used to think I was broken until I realized I was never broken." Like she I'm super paraphrasing that, but the idea that we were never broken, yet sometimes we tell ourselves that we're broken, that we're not right, we're not broken. And I almost want to dive a little bit into the idea of like, why do we sometimes we hate ourselves, or we don't have the self-esteem to understand how valuable we are, and we tell ourselves that there's something wrong.
Yeah. Okay. And that's another reason that maybe we subject ourselves to the emotional pain of relationships, because it takes sometimes being valued, or it takes another person sometimes to realize your own value, or see what you're bringing to the table.
And it's a paradox, right? Because it's like, yes, you need it, but then you don't need it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you want to give your own you want to give yourself that validation.
Yeah.
But I guess at the beginning, you want to understand what that validation feels like. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Generating your own like self-love is probably the hardest thing. At least for me, that is it takes
absolutely.
to have something that is my own, isolated, that I'm proud of for myself, that I've done for myself. It's rare.
Yeah. Now tell me this: do you feel that a step into your idea of success is that you must have built something, or you must have accomplished? Like, what is it that you need to do in order to say I'm fulfilled, or I'm loving myself a little more?
Well, there's a conflicting thing of like what is success, because you said, okay, I love myself, and I feel I feel validated. I understand what my value is as a person, and then I'm also someone who's like trying to work out like, okay, how am I paying my rent, and like and how am I going to get to all the details of life, like just general stability, like, worrying about those things. Like if I feel like I need that success before I can even focus on
your own self?
On my own, just like the human side. It's like you're managing two different things that aren't always in lockstep. The thing that provides immediate like security isn't always necessarily the thing that provides like the ultimate like catharsis that I think we're searching for.
And I think I hope that through life, in our discovery through life, that changes though. Because in it almost, I feel like it's almost depressing to think that I need to be economically stable or financially free in order to address my own self-love, or my own happiness, or my own human self. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's my least favorite thing to be trying to manage. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Joe Dispenza says this thing. Have you heard of? We've talked about him.
Joe Dispenza.
He's this neurologist.
Say that last name again.
Dispenza.
Okay, I don't know.
I've commented it before on the podcast, on the previous, literally with Gus that I had. He basically is this neurologist who studies how to rewire our brain, how to live in the unknown, stay more present, reshape our life, get out of survival mode.
And you a scientist?
he's a scientist, and he's proven like these things with science, proving how meditation aids your life and how it can like heal your body, literally heal your broken body. Like no broken, sorry, but like if you have an injury or something like that, even to that extent. Really, really amazing new science.
That's incredible.
Please look into it if you haven't. But he does talk about how to switch from survival mode, right? How to get out of survival mode, which, because it's what we're talking here. It's like when we're so convoluted into the planning, into the this, into the that, we put our human or human self or body or spirit, we put it aside. We say, oh, later on. The thing is, this is what he says, right? It's almost like it's always going to be like that. That cycle is always going to be there unless you actively decide to break it. And it's not going to feel comfortable either way.
Yeah.
Even if you have $1 million in your bank account, it's still going to feel uncomfortable to break the habit of getting out of the survival mode. So and this is something that I always encourage my friends too, because I am actively thinking about those things too, is like, what can we do? How can we do it in our own way, in our own little steps? I think creating or like getting into having these conversations, for instance, it's could be useful, to that more. Because right now, in a way, tell me if I'm wrong, but like we're putting the noise a little bit aside. We're stopping the
by
plan.
Doing this.
Yeah, by doing this.
Absolutely.
And
that's why I was so excited when you said it.
Yeah.
Because I've been caught up in the scheduling of my visit.
Yeah.
I've been caught up in managing all of the relationships that I have come out here to pay attention to, and I'm thinking about how I want to move out here and the various ways that I need to do that. So to shed that for a little bit, and you're the best person to do that with, is it's a relief. And I think you're right, because I think that it is sort of a mode in your brain that you need to actually turn off, rather than, because you have this idea that there's like, I just gotta get there and then I will be able to fully be myself.
And it's funny because then you get there, and this happens in little things, like you want to go to that place, you end up going, and then you find another reason to want something more, and then you're trapped there. Yeah,
so you gotta avoid that, and you gotta put more paintings on the walls here so that I don't feel like I'm just I'm getting sucked into these white walls. Did you just move in?
We kind of just moved in like a year ago. Like 6 months ago, I guess.
Where's the duct tape graffiti art?
I know. Here's the thing, I'm working on it, man. I'm providing the shed, I'm working on the oatmeal. Talking about art and creating and all that, I know this is a point of uncomfortability that I want to talk about. I think it's important. This idea that you're going through a phase of your life where you feel like you want to be doing more creatively. Could you tell me a little bit more about that, or this anxiety, or not anxiety, but this pressure, I guess.
So I stepped away from LA after I graduated. And I wanted to sort of separate myself from LA. I wanted to go on a little bit of an adventure that was my own, and it was a convenient timing because there was a pandemic. So I applied for and was put in a position in Oregon as a children's program coordinator at a shelter. And this was, in a lot of ways, one of the most rewarding experiences, one of the most educational experiences, one of the most humbling experiences. But the effect of it as I left, and all the ways that I grew, also rust and self-doubt came in all of the creative momentum that I felt like I had built up, and I had been physically away from all of my creative partnerships and people that I trust and that I feel that believe in me and I believe in myself around.
Because a lot of people don't know this, but you graduated as a theater major, and your passion lies in acting.
Yes. And then after Oregon, I've gone back to New York, and I've been half-hearted with my attempts to get back into it, and it's hard to be honest about because things won't come to fruition if you're half-hearted. So I need to. I've been really doing a lot of looking inward. I've started therapy, and
Oh,
like
bro,
like
good
a month
for
ago,
you. I
like
didn't
a
know
month ago.
that.
Really good.
Yeah.
I like have picked the right person and everything, and just
amazing.
talking about like trying to identify like where is this coming from, because I believe in everything that I worked for. And why am I not pushing myself harder? What am I afraid of?
Why are you not taking that next step or last step?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is sort of an isolated type of loneliness. I've been living at home in New York, and it's funny to say you're alone in New York, but that's my childhood home. And like when I'm here on this short visit, I've been here 3 days. I carry around all of my college memories and all of the things that I've done, and like I'm in that mode.
Yeah.
When I'm home, I carry around
Nostalgia.
but like very old nostalgia, to when I was so young. And when
can I just say you sleep in a basement?
I do sleep in the basement,
bro. Like
it's like
you don't even get sunlight there.
No, it's true. I the first couple days of sun here, I realized what I've been deprived of.
You need the vitamin D,
true.
man.
I live in a dark cave, but I also I'm surrounded by just like feelings of high school, that like where I was trying to be myself, but like I hadn't really found into a group that allowed for that. And I really kind of came into my own in college, and everything here feels glass half full. So I gotta make the move. I gotta just believe that I can make the move and dive in, because if I keep telling myself that, okay, I need all my ducks in a row, I need all of it, and I won't do it, and I will just continue to feel unsatisfied.
And I'm so happy and proud of you, bro, for even knowing that, like being aware of that, just the act of being aware of something. And yes, you're building towards it, you're working towards it, you'll get there because you're aware of it. You know what I mean? Sometimes people go through their lives with a half glass empty full. You know what I mean? And it's and you get. I mean, it's part of the process as well, right? Now, I do want to ask you though, because does it feel like a second chapter of that? Like, it's almost like from what I'm hearing is like, in that chapter of high school, you were trying to figure yourself out, but now it's almost like chapter 2 of that, where you're trying to figure yourself out but in the next kind of level thing.
Yes, it's like I got a taste of it, because we had some times in college where it was just everything was going right. Everything was going right. Every day was set up for success. And it was just the best feeling. So and now that's not around me, and you realize like, oh yes, I'm a privileged person. I got to go to a private university, surrounded myself by wonderful people, and met lifelong friends. But then it's like up to you to carry that torch and sustain it for yourself when it's not a structure around you. So yeah, this is definitely a part 2. This is almost like, and feel like I'm in an intermission of it.
And you want to know something? I think artists needs those. They need those intermission or states of living life in a strange way, because it's gonna feel. I just know it, bro. I just feel it. You know what I mean? I know it's gonna fuel your work from now on so deeply. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think about, like, you hear stories like from famous artists hundreds of years ago, writers. Brecht, remember how we learned that Brecht lived in this area, like LA, and he came, then he hated it. But like there was something that drove him, and when I read that he actually traveled east across Eurasia and then took a boat from like Asia to LA. He went that way to get here.
Yeah, because he was also like a political figure, or like he
he was kind of fleeing, because he was going to be totally silenced by the Nazi Party, but that urge when it was so like for us, we can book a flight and be somewhere the next day, but people who were like, I need to get away, and like doing these voyages, these month-long journees to get to a place to finally have a new experience, a new taste, a new vibe. So I agree. I think they need it because they went to greater lengths than we've had to do that.
Yeah. And it's interesting how every creative person has a story like that. Yeah. It's almost what makes their art interesting is that those voyages they take and the stories they keep with them.
Yeah. Do you think it would be possible? And maybe we try this as an experiment, very illegal. So we would never distribute audio on the internet of us planning it. But you kidnap a person, a baby, an infant.
Okay.
You kidnap an infant, and then we have it, and then you raise it in an isolated space. Sure. Like very controlled, limited exposure to the world, but they grow into adulthood, and then you see what they can produce artistically. Because we just posed this like, oh, you need experience. You need a diverse experience. You need to explore in order to produce. So I want to test that. I want to challenge that. You know,
sounds a lot like a play we just read. Really, it's called At the End of Wisdom. Niall wrote this play.
The End of Wisdom,
and it's
I think I'm going to his house tonight.
That's crazy. Yeah. And we had a reading of this, a stage reading.
Okay.
And it talks about the story of this. Sorry, Niall, if I'm disclosing too much, but this kid who lives isolated from the world because he can know the sins of men. Because if he knows the sins of men, he needs to act upon them in order to get to heaven. I don't want to say more than that.
Okay.
So, but it's similar, like, but in a creative way, in a creative experiment. Yeah, let's do that. I am actually free next Thursday, so I could do that. Like, if you're
but
a little baby,
taking
we
care.
could go to a little Venezuelan baby
because you don't want it to be an especially traumatized, because then that would give them the tools to be artistic later in life once they've kind of come to terms with that abuse. You want them to just have the most boring, to test this theory. They have not a day is like, oh, water. And like food, and like, you know, watch only like not stimulating, not interesting shows like Friends.
Damn. Yeah. Sure.
Hey, you like Friends?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You don't like Friends?
I don't know. I just don't find it funny.
Yeah, I feel you. I never watched it. I only saw it on the TV when people were playing it. Of course. Anyway,
people love it.
Anyhow, I do want to kind of circle our conversation almost to the end, but there's this really fun moment since we've been talking about this sort of unleashing of creativity, where we both unleashed our creativity. Do you remember that?
I know what you're talking about.
It was right before the pandemic. Could you entertain us in telling us this story?
This meant so much to me that it became the sort of concluding element of my senior thesis when I wrote about it. Remember, my senior thesis was about our abroad trip, and just what that experience did for me and us as a collective artistically, and the bond that was created among the 20 of us.
Absolutely.
That won't ever really be able to be taken away. It's just locked in space and time. And I was sort of trying to illustrate that, like, it had created a platform that we could then tap into at any time. And we had these fantastical experiences abroad, but we needed these masterful European teachers to get us to that place, but they gave us the tools to get there. And
it's almost like we had the formula, the cheat sheet.
And so I was your scene partner for KCACTF.
Yeah, which is like a theater festival.
Yeah,
that we were
yeah,
going
and
to.
we were rehearsing 2 scenes, both by Paul Rudnick.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah,
Hey.
what's up, Paul?
Thank you for coming. Hi.
And a great Twitter follow,
Yeah.
Paul Rudnick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very funny. So
We were doing this 2 plays.
Yeah, we were doing these 2 plays, but we needed to in order to get into the zone, we basically developed like I don't even know how to get these people to understand what the hell we were doing.
Yeah, we were trying to like dude, thank you so much for going through that as well. Like I felt like we were doing some crazy shit. We were like walking and acting and trying things, weird things.
Yeah,
we were being fun.
We needed it, and there were. It's so hard to get people to like get to that space, to drop all of themselves to get into that space.
Yeah, because it's almost like we were not afraid to feel stupid.
Right.
Not at all.
So we would meet and we would find alone time at night, but there was that final day, and it was like it was the first day of spring break. It was a Saturday.
Yes.
And we didn't know that after that spring break, they were going to extend spring break by a week, and then they were going to cancel the rest of our education.
Yeah, and the world was going to change. We didn't know that was going to happen. So this was my last memory in the building. And this was after the festival. Like, we had done the festival.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, we just wanted to film something.
And we wanted to film the scene that we had done because the guys in the festival thought we were too good, so they didn't let us go to the next round.
Exactly. It was unfair.
Yeah. So we're like, let's record it.
So we recorded it.
So we recorded it.
But we were the only ones in the building because it was, we thought we were the only ones in the building because it,
but still,
it was, yeah. And so I just remember we would start by kind of like staring into each other's eyes, and like one person would kind of have an instinct and you would respond to it. And I remember, it's all blurry, but I remember
it's foggy, yeah. I think
kind of running around as like a sort of baby dinosaur type of creature, and like being very and like aggressive toward you.
Oh yeah, and at some point we were like, so we were on the stage alone, and we were running on top of the chairs, like all the audience members, and then there was a moment where I like grabbed 2 chairs and I started to act like a spider, remember? And it was like you came up to me and I was trying to attack you. It was like we were just wired into like the moment.
Yes, we were. It was sort of like prehistoric beasts that had never encountered another creature before, and like trying to figure out like do we attack? Do we run away? Do we try to bond? That's kind of what it was. And then I remember at one point you were like lying on the ground like a corpse, and I was kind of doing some sort of
because you killed me or something like that.
Oh, that was probably that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think this is after. So we record the scene, right, and then we just go into this play mode, right? Or was this?
I think that was it. That was it.
And how do you kill me? I don't know how do I. We got to a moment, or I got to a moment where like I was just lying in the floor for like 10 minutes straight without moving.
Yeah. And I was just sort of praying, and I may have been preparing to eat you or something like that. And then, just like we hear a door open, and like we look around, and Johnny Burton, the
he's like the
props master.
He's the prop master. He's a great human being. I hope to have him in the podcast one day.
Would be so great.
But he walks in.
He walks in and he witnesses this moment, and I wrote what exactly his reaction was in that piece for my thesis. I'm trying to remember how that. I just remember him being there and just this impossible to explain moment, and how
he was just like, okay, but
took it in stride. Yeah.
And I remember not even moving. Like I was still on the floor.
Oh yeah.
Like you were just talking to him. Like, listen, well, I fucking.
Yeah, that's right, because you were dead, I sort of had to come out of my thing a little bit to acknowledge him and like kind of be like, hey, yeah, no, we're just doing a thing, but also not leave that space too much.
Exactly.
And he was the perfect person because I didn't feel like it had been broken.
Yep. It's like you do your thing.
Yeah, it was incredibly special. At home in New York, I have a picture that you took from that day and mailed to me where. You're standing on something, I'm standing on the stage, and you're holding your hand, and it looks like I'm standing on your hand. Very classic type of thing.
Oh, but, that's amazing. So this is how I would love to end this podcast. It's like every little podcast I like to make my guest bring something creative or do something creative, I'd love to show a clip of that day. I think I have a recording of something like that.
Please.
I wanna add that at the end of this.
Yeah.
Well, hermano, I just want to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for this delightful, insightful conversation. Is there anything you would like to end us with this lovely afternoon?
Thank you for listening. And I wish success to everybody, but like, what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah,
you're much better at me at like isolating an intention, because I get flustered with what I want to wish to people.
Interesting. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Because I want everybody to be happy, and I want everybody to meet their goals. But how do you say that in a way that's like, you don't repeat the same thing every time?
Yeah.
Cause you manage to uniquely capture love and send it to people, and it's one of my favorite things about you. And I don't know how to do it without being repetitive.
Brother, I think you just did it.
Okay.
I think you just did it.
Okay. I hope everybody picked up what Alan picked up from what I said.
We love you all. Thank you for listening.
Once upon a time, in a tiny cobble-streeted town on the banks of a fast-flowing river, there lived a little boy who did not get along with the other children of the town. They picked on and bullied him because he was poor and his parents were drunkards, and his clothes were rags, and he walked around barefoot. The little boy, however, was a happy and dreamy disposition. He did not mind the beatings and the unending solitude. He knew that he was kind-hearted and full of love, and that someday someone, somewhere, would see the love inside him and repay him in kind. Then, one night, as he sat nursing his newest bruises at the foot of the wooden bridge that crossed the river and led out of town, he heard the approach of a horse and cart along the dark cobbled street. And as it neared, he saw that his driver was dressed in the darkest of robes, the black hood of which bathed his craggy face in the shadow and sent a shiver of fear through the little boy's body. But putting his fear aside, the boy took out the small sandwich that he was supposed to eat for his supper that night.
And just as the cart was about to pass onto and over the bridge, he offered it up to the hooded driver to see if he would like some. The cart stopped. The driver nodded. Got down and sat beside the little boy for a while, sharing the sandwich and discussing this and that. The driver asked the boy
why he was barefoot
and ragged
and
all alone. And as the boy told the driver of his poor and hard life, he eyed the back of the driver's cart. It was piled high with small empty animal cages, all foul-smelling and dirt-lined. And just as the boy was about to ask what kind of animals it had been inside them,
the driver stood up and announced that he had to be on his way. But before I go,
the driver whispered,
because you've been so kindly to an old weary traveler in offering half of your already meager portions, I would like to give you something new, something now, the worth of which today you may not realize.
But one day,
when
you're a little older, perhaps,
you
will truly value it before.
Now close your eyes.
And so the little boy did what he was told and closed his eyes, and from a secret inner pocket of his robes, the driver pulled out a long, sharp, and shiny meat cleaver, raised it high in the air, and brought it scything down onto the boy's right foot.
Scything down onto
severing
the boy's
all
right
five
foot.
Of his
severing all
little
five
toes.
of his muddy little toes.
And
as the little boy sat there in gaping, silent shock, staring blankly off into the distance at nothing in particular, the driver gathered up his bloody toes, tossed them away to the gaggle of rats that had begun to gather in the gutters, got back onto his cart, and quietly rode on over the bridge, leaving the boy, the rats, the river, and the darkening town of Hamelin far behind him.